Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Smith, and I'm the Vice President of Client Success here at IT Solutions. I'm joined today with our Director of Managed Security Service Offering, John Guzman, as well as Andrew Scott, Security Solution Advisor from Total, to talk about our MDR with SIEM SOC and how these services provide a more robust security posture to our managed clients. Thanks for joining me today, John and Andrew.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Before we dive in, I want to cover just a few housekeeping items. All attendees are in listen-only mode. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available to all registered attendees. Please look for that recording in your inbox in the coming days after today's session. We love questions. Please feel free to use the Q&A button on the bottom of the Zoom window. And at the conclusion of today's session, we'll field all of the questions that we get. With that, let's dive in. The most important role as your trusted strategic IT partner is to continuously assess the threat landscape. We want to ensure that your organization remains secure, compliant, and operationally efficient. One of the most common statements I hear from clients, they'll often say to me, "Don't you provide all of my security through my managed services?" Sometimes they might say, "I already have monitoring and alerting enabled. We're good." But the reality is that traditional security measures are increasingly inadequate due to advanced cyber threats. We must continually evaluate and iterate our security posture to ensure we have full visibility in defending our environment's entry points. Unfortunately, in some instances where proactive security is not in place, the impact of cyber attacks can be irreparable. When engaging in security conversations, I hear comments that downplay the need for basic security tools. Again, our duty is always to ensure that our clients fully understand that inadequate security measures can potentially introduce the following risks: vulnerability to AI-powered cyber threats, greater risk for ransomware and data breaches, unplanned downtime resulting in operational disruption and/or potential loss of revenue, the inability to obtain cyber insurance, and compliance violations. And really, most importantly, these risks carry heavy financial implications. So with that, I'd like to turn the stage over to John, who's going to give us a deep dive into MDR with SIEM SOC and how we're providing next level security layered with our managed services. John?
Thank you, Kate. So let's talk about cybersecurity in a way that's a little more delicious. Imagine your cybersecurity strategy like a layered cake. Each layer has a purpose, and skipping one means that your cake might fall apart. We created a simple acronym to help you remember what goes into a strong, modern cybersecurity setup. It's called CAKE, and each letter stands for a critical piece of the puzzle. First, we collect data from SaaS applications like Microsoft O365, from endpoints, both physical and virtual, user activity, even your firewall. This is where alerts are born. Think of it as gathering your ingredients. Next, we analyze it all with a SIEM, a Security Information and Event Management System. Big word. It basically looks for patterns and flags potential threats. This is like mixing your ingredients into a smooth batter, turning raw data into something meaningful. Know is about your SOC, your Security Operations Center. These are the experts who investigate those alerts and determine what's real and what's noise. It's your team that actually knows how to deal with the heat in the kitchen. And finally, we execute with MXDR, Managed Extended Detection and Response. This is your automation layer. It stops threats fast, hunts for new ones, and protects everything across your cloud, endpoint, and network, like the final frosting that holds it all together. With all four layers, collect, analyze, know, execute. You don't just have a strategy, you have a layered defense against easy to digest and tough to beat. Because in cybersecurity, just like baking, skipping a step can leave a big mess, and no one wants a flat cake or a flat defense. Just like adding a scoop of ice cream takes a good slice of cake to the next level, adding SOAR, which is security, orchestration, automation, and response, and EDR with next-gen antivirus adds the extra delight of your security attack. SOAR automates and coordinates your response across systems, making everything faster, more efficient, and less manual. It's the cherry on top that keeps your security team focused on what matters most. EDR with next-gen antivirus protects your endpoints with real-time detection, behavioral analysis, and prevention. They're like that creamy, cold scoop of protection that complements every layer of your cake. Together, these extras ensure your layered defense isn't just solid, it's exceptional.
It's a great acronym, John. Really makes me want to have a slice of cake.
Yeah, me too. And so I want to kind of double down on what you guys have been talking about already and really dive into a little bit more of the financial implications you mentioned there, Kate, and really, some of those items, those attacks that we're talking about. So ransomware attacks can encrypt thousands of files in mere minutes, and this can really create significant impacts against businesses, right? And so really what we need is to eat some cake. And so by what we mean by that is really adopting robust cybersecurity measures and protecting really what matters most to all of you. And so, as ransomware, and other cyber threats really cause that significant financial damage, there's some metrics and numbers I think that have recently come out that I think are really important. Okay. So to start with, ransomware is here to stay and it's growing. We see it all in the news. And so there's some recent reports from Verizon's data breach report that have come out a couple of weeks ago. So ransomware attacks we're seeing have increased at a rate of 37%, all right? And they're now involved in 44% of breaches, right? What this also includes is that the median ransom payment is $115,000 is what we're seeing. That can be much higher, of course, but this alone is a significant financial implication to businesses and really considering what those attacks mean for your org and your bottom line. And so these threats are moving hard and fast, and that really drives that need for collection of data, visibility in the environment, rapid analysis, and really being able to quickly respond to these threats to prevent these type of metrics that we're seeing and that financial implication. Next is 88%. So this is the difference of what we're seeing in ransomware-related attacks and breaches against SMBs or orgs that are really, 1,000 or 1,500 employees and less versus big enterprise orgs. But what this means and what we're seeing is that 88% of ransomware attacks versus large orgs are impacting the SMB. So this is a very significant attack vector that we need to get ahead of and be able to respond quickly against. As I mentioned, that ransom average of 115K. So really considering that and the pace of what we're seeing for attacks. And then 22%. So this number may be a bit lower than the other ones we're seeing, but the meaning behind this is very impactful. So this is the percentage of what Verizon saw, and Total seeing the same thing, that 22% of attacks, ransomware-related breaches, cyber attacks are starting with stolen credentials. John mentioned O365, the importance of looking at identities, the endpoints, et cetera. Adversaries are simply logging in, no longer just hacking in. And so having that awareness and visibility is crucial to stopping those attacks and, frankly, being able to protect those business lines. And so really the bottom line here is, the visibility needed and the speed to respond 24/7, 365 is crucial. And so these attacks will happen on holidays, overnight. We're almost going into summer vacation season. And so really cyber criminals and adversaries don't discriminate. and we need to really be prepared as organizations and defenders for what's going on.
Andrew, if I can ask a quick question, from your perspective, what is the difference? How are these attacks and on the increase? Is AI behind this? Like, what are you seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So AI is playing a big role, right? So as organizations and companies are looking at AI to be a business enabler and optimizer for their own, adversaries and cyber criminals are seeing the same thing, right? So,
I
and they're
see.
using that AI to drive those attacks. So we're seeing significant changes and growth in the capabilities of adversaries, making them more capable, lowering that barrier of entry so that they're able to wage more attacks. We're seeing that speed and volume of attacks also increasing, and the effectiveness of these cyber, criminals and threat actors to use AI. And so, to start with, this is especially true in social engineering and, attacks. A lot of the, initial first, attack campaigns or things they're going to run before ransomware gets deployed. So emails, text, voice, we get a lot of those spam texts or phishing emails or new even deepfakes where it's impersonating users or over the phone. So AI is making this much more accessible and realistic, which means it could be potentially much more damaging because it's designed to really evade detection or be more, kind of cut through the noise and the defenses. Additionally, I mentioned that, organizations using AI for productivity and efficiency, adversaries are doing the same. So what this means is using AI for faster scanning, monitoring and preparation of who they're going to target, how they're going to understand, kind of the organizations and different areas there they're going to try and infiltrate in. Also, generating new and modified versions of malware. That coding capability that orgs look to use AI for, adversaries are doing the same thing as they're able to wage faster campaigns, more adaptable malware, cutting down the time they'd have to retool because, to evade, kind of cyber defenses. And then simply a faster process to launch attacks with. So really this is creating a perfect storm, for many, organizations because of the increased speed and volume of those cyber attacks, and then really those increasingly advanced adversaries through AI. And it's this importance of really eating some cake that we need to have those robust security measures to be able to start to, enjoy our little dessert with.
Great. Thank you. I wanted to sort of just touch on, the overall deployment of the solutions as brought to you by ITS. So we want the team on the line, our guests, to understand, right? Implementation is currently underway for SIEM SOC. There is no downtime to the business or impact to any users. Monthly reoccurring costs of $4 per endpoint per month. Clients can expect to see this increase on their June invoice. ITS is covering the cost of all implementation fees. And of course, as always, strategic advisors are available to field any specific questions or concerns. I do want to tap into some of the questions that we've gotten from the audience. If we can start with this first one. On average, how many alerts require SOC remediation, and how quickly does that happen with the MDR SIEM SOC?
Oh, I can take that one, Kate. And
Thanks, John.
thank you. Thank you very much. On average, our customers experience about 20 cases a month that need the SOC, our Security Operations Center, to take notice to understand what's taking place in the customer's environment. About 2/3 of those are benign. So there are things that we say, okay, that makes sense. We know the customer's environment. We've been working on it for the last, let's say, 6 months. But about 25% of those are true positives, which means that we have to put our eyes on the glass in order to see and understand what's happening. We have to understand what's taking place, and we have to verify and work to remediate that sometimes. So those types of alerts, some of those are false positives, but very, very few based on the software, that we have our SIEM that allows us to go through all of these events. Sometimes customers have hundreds of thousands of events in a given day, sometimes millions. So it just depends on the size of the customer. These numbers that we're showing right now represent the average median acknowledgement time in minutes for a case to be marked under investigation. So we get the alert and the SOC analyzes it, and they will start to look into it, see what's going on, and decide where to go from there. Kate, we had an attendee ask also, why is ITS implementing this service on my behalf?
Sure. So we've gotten a bunch of these questions from some of our clients, and we have been introducing the concept of MDR and SIEM SOC to our clients on their roadmaps continuously. Now that we are reaching a larger organization, we're able to leverage deeper partnerships with our partners like Total to bring forward an enterprise grade solution at an SMB price point. And this is based on our growth potential, our economy of scale, really. We have that many more clients that we're able to provide the service to. And so we're at a great place where we're able to roll this out for our clients. One of the things that came through on chat, John, and this is a pretty good one in terms of the layering approach. So how does the MDR SIEM SOC layer on top of a solution such as SentinelOne? Can you speak to that a little bit and offer some insight there?
Sure, I can. I think over the last few years we've seen the use of AI and machine learning in order to help the adversary, the threat actor, cut through and into the network. And SentinelOne has been great at allowing us to help patrol the perimeter of the customer and understand what's happening and what's going through. And SentinelOne is certainly one of the best in class for understanding EDR. Our MXDR solution goes beyond that. It's like a customer, if you can imagine two fighters back in the medieval times. One of them they both have a sword, so your adversary and you both have a sword, but your adversary has armor. What we're doing is we're adding armor to the sword for our customers, making sure that they're on equal ground or even higher ground to give us the advantage against adversaries. This ensures that we aren't the low-hanging fruit out there. And threat actors are going to go for the low-hanging fruit first before they come after someone who has armor and a shield, who has a armor and a sword. So I think that's probably the best way that we can understand what MXDR does. It goes beyond that endpoint that SentinelOne provides. And then there's the SIEM and the SOC, which is the always-on software that allows us to know what's taking place on the network, and our SOC, which is the human element of that, and to address that, understand the context, and then protect our customers. So all this is happening in real time for our customers. We're analyzing what's taking place, and our people are on that, and they'll pick up the phone and in the right situation and say, hey, we've quarantined this user for this reason, whether it's a business email compromise or they clicked on some malware that they shouldn't have. That is stopped in its tracks. The SOAR actually helps with the automated response. So we talk about being faster than the guy with the sword and the armor. This is a way to make sure that we address that in a pre-planned sort of way, in an aggressive, positive way. Does that help?
It does. Thank you, John. We often get questions from clients that are, you made a security recommendation to us some time ago, and now you're talking about something different. And I like to be able to connect those dots and reconcile why, security isn't a destination, right? It isn't okay, now we're there, we're now secure. It's an ongoing and ever-changing thing. I mean, to Andrew's point, the AI alone makes this an ever-evolving cycle. So thank you for helping us understand, the layering of the tools rather than, a single tool kind of does it all. One of the other questions that we got, I think this is a really good point of clarification as well. John and Andrew, we talked about, putting the application onto any endpoints. Is that physical endpoints? Is that a virtual endpoint? Is that both? Can you provide some more clarity around the definition of endpoint, please?
Yeah, definitely, Kate. I can, step in here. So an endpoint, it can be both physical and virtual.
Okay.
Think about the assets that you're using to do business, to do your work, really being able to meet you where you are and put that protection and monitoring and response mechanism, how you do business there.
Okay. And so for the purpose of our conversation today and for the purpose of the MDR SOC, where our clients that are listening in, we're really talking specifically desktops, laptops, servers. That's the context of what we're talking today. Okay. Very good. Thank you. The other thing, and John, this is a good question. Someone is asking about the ability to extend SIEM, SOC, MDR to the firewall level. We had just talked about, really the definition of the endpoint being limited to servers and workstations and laptops for the context of this campaign. But what if a client has a need that is outside of what we just described? First of all, can the solution accommodate? And follow up, how do we handle that?
Sure, and I appreciate the question. It's a good question, and the answer is yes, we can and do look at the firewall and what's taking place on that. We try to pull in not just the endpoints, but the entire environment. The more that we can pull into that scope of what we're looking at, the more likely it is we can correlate actions outside of the normal day-to-day business and allows us to bring context to what's taking place and protect the customer. And again, all this is happening in real time. So we look at SaaS applications, for instance, Box, O365, whatever the customer is looking at, we try to bring as much of that telemetry in so that we can understand and better protect the customers, again, in real time. As security, as threats evolve and AI is more centerpiece of what those threat actors are doing, we're also looking in the future at quantum computing and how those two might work together. So again, to your point, Kate, this isn't a static place. Security is not a static place that we get to. It's a moving place along the customer journey, but also your customer's journey, your end customer's journey. So we need to protect that data and we need to keep up with what's taking place in the environment. We need to have the best possible tools at the best, lowest price. So we try to look at those things, and I think we've done a really good job based on what's out there today to help protect our customers, not only today, but down the road.
Very good. That's helpful. Okay, I have a specific question from a customer that's asking, I spoke with my strategic advisor last quarter about leveraging a SIEM SOC, and the cost was substantially more. Why is this so inexpensive now? Is it a lesser service? The answer is no. It is the same service that the strategic advisors had been speaking about previously. Again, this is our ability to partner at scale and leverage enterprise class solutions at an SMB price point, which is why we're able to bring that to our clients today. Checking for any additional questions. Let's see. I have one that is a technical question in the chat. How does this work if we are using Rapid7 on our workstations? Andrew Scott or John Guzman, can either of you field that question, please?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I can
Andrew.
start. Yeah. So Rapid7, I think, as Kate, you alluded, and John, really it's about gaining that full observability across the environment of not just endpoint, but also more broadly, the solution can ingest all different types of data. So Rapid7 logs, events, that endpoint, or whatever you may be using there, we can pull that in, be able to really tie that with, those different correlation points John mentioned, network, identity, all those things. So really being able to pull in additional data points to get that full picture of what's going on in the environment and detect those threats as they evolve and be able to respond in kind is part of it.
Okay, great. A couple other questions around endpoints include switches, printer, routers, and firewalls as well. We did specifically ask around the firewall, but can you touch on the point to switches, printers, routers, Andrew?
Yeah. Kind of same thing I just mentioned, but
Yep.
Great question again, right? We want to be able to see all of this data. So being able to integrate and pull in, whether it's cloud, to cloud solutions, multiple different integrations that, the solution offers, the ability to ingest all that data, add it to correlation, 100%, it can be used to pull in all that data as well.
Okay, perfect. There's a question around, will this product work to protect a website? Is that possible?
It is not. So we look at a SIEM and an MXDR, right? Website is really web and application security. That's a different function than the SIEM and SOC and MXDR. However, it will be able to ingest web server logs, different types of telemetry coming from those, assets and devices that are, hosting, supporting those websites, et cetera, and be able to identify, are we seeing attacks? What's going on there? So really providing that monitoring mechanism to the infrastructure that's supporting your websites. But in terms of protecting them, that is a different function. So recommend talking with your strategic advisor about those kind of components.
Perfect.
Real quick, Kate, just to layer on top of
Please.
Andrew here. We have several products that can help customers in that area, including web application firewalls. We have automated web app testing. So we can go at this from a couple of different angles, but would certainly reach out to your SA, your strategic advisor. They can help start that conversation. We can talk more in depth about what's available out there and how we can help, and what are some of the things you need to be looking at in order to help secure your site.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I'm just taking one more glance through our chat list. It looks like we've answered the balance of the questions today. So with that, I'm going to just send a brief reminder. This webinar was recorded today, and we will be sharing a copy of that with all of our attendees. If there are any further questions, or you would like a copy of today's webinar or any other topics that we shared with you, we'll be happy to have your strategic advisor reach out. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Thank you.